Hey, what's going on, guys? Money Making Joey back here doing another video, and in today's video I find this to be a rather important one because I released a video on my channel a few days ago, and I believe it was titled Trapped in the Grind of Driving for Uber and Lyft. And this video got a lot of comments, well, not really a lot, but a decent amount of comments, and it was very interesting to me. One comment that I got on this video, because I had a driver, I'm not sure where he was located, but he left a comment and he said, hey, you know what? I don't know why you're speaking so negatively about people, driving for Uber and Lyft. It's still a decent option to make money. And he's like, my consistent average profit after I take out my expenses is like $1,300 a week. Now, I love when people say things like this because the reality of it is that it's kind of vague when you say, hey, I make $1,300 a week profit on average driving in the rideshare industry, because to me it leaves some questions, because it's like, how many hours are you driving per week to make this amount? And then now, what was your total before your expenses? And did you even deduct your expenses properly to come to this 1,300? Because I've been in the rideshare industry for some time. And on top of that, I've been doing videos on YouTube, for some time. So I know what's going on inside of the community. I know why some people are under the illusion that they're making a certain amount of money when in all reality, they're really not, right? So I wanted to kind of break down some numbers because we kind of went further into the comments with this driver. Shout out to Money Over Fame, because he left a comment, and my original comment was, well, if you drove 80, 90 hours that week to make that amount of money, we're on two different pages. And the reason why I would make a comment like that is because the reality of things is that here in 2025, you have a lot of drivers that are participating in the rideshare industry, and they're newbies to this. They're not like someone like myself, who I took part in the rideshare industry before the pandemic. I'm talking about 2018, 2019, and even during the pandemic. And when I was driving during those times, it was quite easy for me as a part-time driver to make $1,000 and only hit the road for like 25, 30 hours, right? So now when I hear someone that says they make $1,800 and they drove 60, 70, even 80 hours a week, that's not really something that's impressive to me. That's a decline in the industry. I've watched people fight for so many years before the pandemic and even during the pandemic to make more money inside of the rideshare industry. And the reality is that it's actually been a pay cut. The consumer, the riders, they're actually paying more to get a ride, while in all actuality, the drivers have took a pay cut. That's the reality of things. So I got my calculator pulled up here for you guys, and I just want to let you know I didn't do any numbers prior. I'm making this video for you guys, and we're gonna crunch some numbers just a tad bit. And I feel that it's only fair, just due to the fact that if you've been subscribed to my channel for some time, and for any reason, if you're watching this video and you're not subscribed to the channel, and you're participating in the rideshare industry, gig economy in any way, do go ahead and get subscribed to the channel and, check out some of my videos. I make them often. But over the last several months, I've been a huge critic when it comes to the rideshare industry. And here on my YouTube channel, there are videos that I've made where I'm going in a little bit. I'm going a little bit hard on the rideshare industry, right? Telling you guys why you shouldn't do it, why the money sucks. But there's one thing that I have not done, and that's basically create a video for you guys where we fully go over a breakdown. And you're getting this from someone, like I've said previously, that I've been in the industry for a number of years. I don't drive anymore. I haven't in a while, right? But I've been in the industry long enough where I'm able to give you my summary, my breakdown, kind of things, and you guys can take it as something that's kind of rock solid. Now, I am going to do this example, right? Based off of a driver that's working, full-time hours along with part-time. This is their full-time job. This is their part-time job, because these are the drivers that are currently taking part in the rideshare industry where I'm getting this argument from. So I'm going to use them as the example. And then another thing that I'm going to do is I am going to make the assumption, right? And there's different ways that people that are in the rideshare industry are, utilizing the vehicle, right? So you have some people that they're in different categories. You have some people that's renting the vehicle that they use. You have some people who they're just going the dealership route. They're purchasing a vehicle, financing it, and they're going back, within 3 to 4 years or whatever, changing that car in to get a new car. That's the example that I'm going to use. Now, you also have a third category where these people, they're using vehicles inside of the rideshare industry and it's already paid off. I really feel like, and I've said this in previous videos, if you're taking part in the rideshare industry, 2025, that's the actual category that you want to be in. You want to be the guy working 60 hours a week in a vehicle that is already paid off. But the truth of the matter is that most of the people that are actually in the rideshare industry driving in 2025, right? They're in that second category, the middle category, where it's like, you want to kind of keep up with the standard. You don't want to be driving a piece of crap, a hoopty. You want to be keeping up kind of with the latest, and you're financing that vehicle. Most people are not driving vehicles that's already paid off. So I'm using that second category as the example here. So in that example, you have a vehicle that's not paid off. And this is the key kind of kicker here when it comes to the vehicle, because I feel like so many different drivers, they don't actually consider this and really do the mathematics behind it before they go out and hit the road driving for Uber and Lyft, right? So now when you're in that second category, right, you have two things that happen every single month automatically, right? You're going to have to make a car payment. You're going to have full coverage. And depending on where you're located, right? And when it comes to the insurance, like I'm in the Northeast, New York, New Jersey, a car insurance full coverage policy can easily run you $300-400 a month, right? And some people might debate the fact on, hey, you know what? If I had this car anyway that I was going to finance, I would have those bills. And I totally understand that aspect coming from someone who may be partaking in the industry as a part-time driver. But in all actuality, right, your car insurance payments every single month, your actual car payment every single month should be deducted from your earnings that you're making within the rideshare industry. If you're someone that you're pushing those 60, 70-hour weeks consistently, driving for Uber and Lyft is your main source of income, it's your full-time job, it's your part-time job, you're going to want to deduct those payments out of the money you're making in the industry. Yes, you may use that vehicle for personal use, but the reality of things is when you're pushing in the industry that hard, the personal driving that you're putting on the vehicle is probably like 10% or less of its overall use, right? So now those two payments, like I was saying, are going to come out every single month. Now, I would consider it, and I was taking this course basically every single year and dividing it amongst the 12 months of the year. But one thing that happens every year now with concerns to your vehicle is that now I would advise everyone in the rideshare industry at the end of every year, go on Kelley Blue Book. Like you can go on Kelley Blue Book now. Get the value of your vehicle, right? It's January. It's the beginning of the year, right? At the end of this year, at the end of 2025, December 31st, January 1st, 2026, go back on to Kelley Blue Book and get the now value of your car after you've beat it up all year, right? And you put 60, 70, 80,000 miles on that car this year. Go back and you get the Kelley Blue Book for it, right? you will probably find most definitely that your car has depreciated by thousands of dollars, right? You have to take that into consideration now with how much money you made in the industry this entire year of 2025, right? So I am going to do some calculations here because I'm just kind of throwing that out there now to kind of see. So I want to take this guy as an example. He's making $1,800 a week, right? Now, of this $1,800 in the comments, it was interesting because he said he was putting in around 60 hours per week. And I know a lot of drivers out there, they like to use the on-app time for when it comes to how long they actually worked, quote unquote. When I was on the road driving on these platforms, I calculated the time I walked out my door to the time I got back, because the reality of things is that the app is not going to show you the time you spent cleaning your car. It's not going to show you the time you took for certain breaks because you had to. You're on the road 12 hours. It's not going to show you where at the end of your shift you were an hour place now away from where you live and you had to take that hour back to drive in. So anytime you see someone and they have, 60 hours of time on the app, just know that actually translates to 70 hours, plus. But I'm going to use, since he said 60, I'm going to use an example case of working a 70-hour week, making $1,800 per week before expenses in the rideshare industry. It's going to be pretty much safe to say, if we get into the initial numbers of what actually happens, right? Your main obvious expense is gas. So now, if we go ahead and we take a look, now I'm going to be honest. If you're out there driving 10, 12 hours a day, it's pretty much safe to say you probably burn about a tank of gas, per day. Let's say the average vehicle, that might be 40, 45 bucks. Let's take the high end of 45 bucks. You're out there 6 days a week, so that's 6 tanks of gas. That runs you approximately $270 now per week. And see, I'm in the New York, New Jersey area. We have tolls up here. I understand most of you guys out there probably don't have to deduct tolls, but there might even be some tolls in that. Like drivers up here, if they tell you they made $1,800 before expenses for the week, they also have to deduct, some tolls in that also. Let's hypothetically say, let's just kick in 30 bucks for tolls. Let's put even 300 bucks for the week on expenses for when and now. We just covered gas and tolls only on the vehicle, right? Now, outside of this, we could add, some car washes in there, miscellaneous things for scent, some spray here and there. Let's say $325, $350 a week when we throw in some cleaning cost in there also, right? For a guy doing full-time plus part-time 60, 70 hours a week on the road. That car has to be cleaned at least twice a week. Let's just be honest, right? So that puts us at about $325, $350 for the cost of the week, right? Okay. Now, when we deduct that, let's say $325, let's give them the benefit of the doubt, right? Out of the $1,800. We're left with $1,475, right? $1,475. Now, this guy that's working 60, 70-hour weeks, he's probably averaging between 1,000 and 1,500 miles on the vehicle, right? So now the rest of the expenses that we're going to speak about are expenses that you won't necessarily see up front, but they are things that happen, over the course of time, right? I would say you would definitely, the next expense that you're going to run into now, we're going to go into the maintenance category, right? So now we're going to total these numbers up for the year, and then we're going to divide them by 12, the amount of months that are in the year, right? It's pretty much safe to say, putting in 60, 70 hours a week on the road in the industry, you're going to want to get that car's oil changed at least once every 3 weeks, right? So we'll probably say 15 oil changes for the year, right? For the year. average oil change, let's go on the low end, let's say $70, right? Times 15. That's $1,050 for the entire year, right? Next thing we're gonna get into is tires, right? Let's say, and this could be widely debated on tires, right? I know guys up here, so we're going to use that as the example, who use used tires because they're a little bit cheaper. I'm going low end kind of numbers here. I'm not going to even do these mathematics on if you're someone that likes to go out and get new tires, right? So now let's say you're that guy that you go out and you use used tires. You might have to change them 2 times a year, right? Maybe even 3. Depending on the quality that you actually get. Used tires, let's say hypothetically go for 60 a piece, 120, 240 for the whole set. 240 2 times a year, that's $480 for the year. Throw in a couple dollars just in case you gotta maybe go get an extra one. So let's say that's tires, let's just hypothetically throw in an extra $600 for the year, right? And it could even go higher than that. That's the cheapest scenario if you're buying used tires, right? Now, the next thing that's going to come in is that you're going to need to get tune-ups on this vehicle, right? Now, averaging, let's say, 5,000 miles a month, I would say you would want to tune this car up, do a full change out of a lot of things twice a year. Which to do that twice a year, bare bone to minimum, would, depending on who you know and who you take it to. See, my father's a mechanic. I got to kind of throw that disclaimer out there. So I really have to think about these numbers because during the time that I was in the rideshare industry, I'm going to be honest with you guys, a lot of this stuff was a little bit cheaper for me because I only had to go to AutoZone and buy these parts. And I think that's another important factor here because it played out better for me than it would for most people if you're going to go ahead and take your car to a mechanic. So I'll be quite honest. Let's do the benefit of the doubt and say 2 tune-ups, $700 for the year, right? So between what we said with oil changes, tires, and tune-ups, we're already at, $2,350 for the year. And now, as far as upkeep and maintenance of the vehicle goes, right? You have to now, and this is where it gets tricky now because you never know when it's going to hit you along the way while you're working, right? Let's say something else mechanical wise happens where you have to replace a fuel pump, a alternator, or something like that, right? Let's say you have the average small mechanical problems that happen to you throughout the year. I would say it would be safe on the small end to add $1,500. And I am going to advise anyone out there that's watching this video and you're currently driving in 2025, don't be so trapped in the grind like what we said in the last video to the point where you don't keep funds to the side, like a little bit of an emergency stash to the side to say, hey, you know what? When that mechanical issue does happen, I'm not really worried about it due to the fact of I have some money to the side. I could take a little break if I need to take a day or 2 off, or I have the money already to the side, so I know I'm not going to be financially stressed about it when that issue does happen. If it's a $300, $500, $800 mechanical bill, because my car is my source of income, it's not going to be something that when it happens, I'm in a predicament where I can't do it. Because the longer I procrastinate, the longer I sit on a broken car, I'm actually losing money. So when these mechanical issues happen, it's definitely going to be something that's very important for you to be able to have the cash on hand, immediately send it over to whoever you need to send it over, or call whoever it is you need to call in order to go ahead and have that fixed. I think another important thing to note is that I am taking a good year where you have normal mechanical problems, let's hypothetically say, right? That 1,500 that we added here that now brings us to 3,850, right? is a normal year with normal mechanical issues, right? There's one thing that I've made mention of in previous videos and I'll make mention of here, where it's like you could stay in the industry long enough and put hundreds of thousands of miles year over year on your vehicle, right? Or you could just have bad luck and be in a situation where you get a vehicle a year or two after being in the industry, you get hit with a engine failure. You got to go out and buy a new engine, or the transmission goes out. You have to now go ahead and put a new transmission in these cars. And now I feel like this is really the kicker, because now if you start getting into those issues and that 1,500 is not enough to cover those type of issues, a new engine, you could be looking at a $6,000 to $8,000 job. A new transmission, you could be looking at a $3,000 to $6,000 job. And this is going to be an occurrence that is going to go on top of that 1,500 that we already pulled to the side just for normal maintenance issues over the year that's going to happen on that vehicle, right? And even if you don't get into an issue, I'm going to be quite honest with you guys, where you have to pull that money out because it happened. I'll be honest, just as a business owner, you have to plan for certain things, because another funny thing is that I find so many different drivers inside of the industry like to claim this independence of being a business owner, having that freedom and everything like that, but they're not really running their journey inside of the rideshare industry as such, right? Because they're not planning for the unknown. I feel like everyone out there inside of the rideshare industry, you need to have that emergency stash of money to the side, where it's like, I'm already planning inside of my journey for a major mechanical issue potentially with my vehicle. And the deeper reason why I say this is because if you're this guy that's putting 60, 70 hours per week in the industry beating up this vehicle, right? At the end of the year, you're 70,000 miles in on this this car. But year over year, if you plan to continue doing that, you have to realize that eventually you will be driving a vehicle, right, that has 200, 300,000 miles on it, because you're putting 70,000 miles per year on this vehicle, right? No matter what you doing that many miles per year, there is going to come a point where even if you wanted to plan ahead, you should definitely be doing so, because there could be a point where you may have a car that's not that old, but it has so many miles and that transmission and that engine is beat up to the point where you should have a emergency savings to the side, where it's like, hey, you know what? At some point, I'm already planning to go ahead and swap this engine that has 200,000-300,000 miles out for a lower mild one that might have 60,000, 70,000 miles, if not even brand new. That way I could get some more years out of, beating up this vehicle inside of the rideshare industry, and I don't have to worry about getting another vehicle, which there's a lot of people now, they will go ahead and realize how much their car has depreciated 3-4 years down the road when they go ahead and hit the dealership again, and they're looking to go ahead and trade this vehicle in, for another one. So now I am going to be honest with you guys, because we have some more numbers to add to these calculations here that we're basically totaling up for the year. I really believe, with everything that I've said to you guys, right, that you need to be probably putting at least $5,000 per year, just calculations, right, for all of these other costs for the year. That would give you a nice cushion on any mechanical issues, that could arise, big or small, right? So that's another $5,000 for the year, right, that we've tucked to the side in expenses we've had to add. And we have not spoke about whatever the actual cost is going to be for when it comes for the actual car payment and also the car insurance that you are spending as well, which when we think about it from a business standpoint, right? So we have $5,000 so far already for the year. Let's say that you have a average car payment, right? You didn't go out and get anything crazy, right? Let's just say $450 for the month. And I am not going to take any arguments in the comments from you guys saying, hey, you know what? It's not all ride share. If you're driving 60, 70 hours per week in the industry, we can go ahead and chuck all of this cost up to this is what we actually have to deduct, right? So $450 a month generally for the car payment, and then let's hypothetically say you're not as an extreme payment on car insurance like what we face up here in New York and New Jersey. Let's say you're in the middle. Let's hypothetically say $250, right? So that's $700 a month. If you times that out by 12, that comes to $8,400. The $8,400 on top of the $5,000 brings us to $13,400, right? And it's tricky with that number because with that number, again, I want to make sure you guys understand so far what we have covered, right? We've covered normal wear and tear maintenance of the car, like oil changes, tires, things like that. We've covered small maintenance issues, and in that $5,000 that we've added, it also covers a little bit of an emergency savings cushion for us if we have any major repair issues, with that vehicle. So then now, what's not included so far in this number that we've got to is now what is the year-over-year depreciation of the vehicle we're using inside of the rideshare industry. What's important to note is that this might actually be a cost that we don't even realize the first year. It's like I mentioned previously, it's going to be important for you to go on to Kelley Blue Book and really try to break these numbers down and keep track of them, year over year, because what I advise drivers to do is keep track of that number. And if you see there's a difference of $2,000, it's going to be very important for you to take that money that year. Just like, and we could speak about the tax burden too of being in the rideshare industry. I might save that for another video because we're kind of already pushing long on this video, but the tax burden, that's a whole nother story, right? Right now we're talking about the depreciation, right? Let's just hypothetically say you're on the brighter side of things. Let's say you notice on Kelley Blue Book you've put a $3,000 depreciation. It's going to be very important for you now to take that $3,000 out of the money that you've made for that current year. And if you're financing your vehicle, it's important for you to go ahead and take that extra money and pay it to the bank, whoever financed you that money. That way, you don't have the shock of realizing 3-4 years down the road, your vehicle has depreciated $10,000 just due to the fact of you participating in the rideshare industry. And at that point, it's going to be tough for you to go ahead and trade that vehicle in because 9 times out of 10, you're going to be upside down on your loan. And for those of you out there that don't know, I will explain it to you, right? When you only make the minimum payments, you have an interest rate that's attached, right? So you're already in a tight situation because you're paying more for the car based on that interest rate than what it's actually worth, right? But then, since you're only making minimum payments and never really cracking down on the principal, you're now in this situation where you're double going down because now the payments that you're making is not enough to keep up with the gap of the depreciation. So now you can have a car that they would only take as a trade-in for $5,000, right? Because you got 150, 200,000 miles on it. They no longer care. It's only 5 to 6 years old. But when you go back to the bank that you got the loan with, you notice that you actually, they want to give you $5,000 for the trade-in, but you learn that you still owe the bank 12 grand. So now you got to come up with that gap of $7,000 now if you want to get another vehicle. Pay that every single year. So now I'm going to pull back up my calculator again. Add that $3,000, savings cushion for depreciation. That brings us up to, let me make sure my numbers are right. Give me a second, guys. Let me go through this again. Let me make sure, because I did a lot on the calculator while talking to you guys, because I know we had $5,000 and then we did the depreciation and the car payments. It was $700 a month times 12 plus the $5,000 plus the 3,000 on the depreciation. 16,400 that brings us to, right? Now we're going to divide this number by 12. I'm sorry. Divide by 12, not times by 12. That brings us to $1,366, right? Now, we're going to divide that number, because that's the number for the month. So we're going to divide this number here by, and I laugh because this is the number that a lot of you guys don't actually realize. This is car payments. This is insurance. This is oil changes. This is gas. This is tires. This is maintenance. This is depreciation, right? And again, I know some of you guys are going to make some comments down in the descriptions, and you can argue this however it is that you would like to argue it. One thing that I will guarantee, whatever mathematics you do, it might be a little bit lower depending on what your situation is. But these are the actual numbers, right? So now when we just divide that number for the month by 4 weeks, that's an additional expense of $341 per week that we also have to add now the original $325 that we gave the guy, you know, for gas, cleaning the car, everything like that. So that brings us to a total expense of the week of $666.66. I don't know if you guys had your calculators out, kind of crunching the numbers and doing the math for me, right? And this is going to be a long video. I'm doing a lot of hard mathematics for you guys that are still out there watching the video. Make sure you guys go down below in the description, right? When it comes to business, you guys might want to check out the website. And for those of you out there that's still watching, you guys are finding value, make sure you go down below, give this video a thumbs up. And I'm doing a lot of hard work, a lot of analysis, a lot of breaking down of things for you guys. My Cash App is down below. Feel free to buy me a drink. Send a little, you know, because we're helping people. I want you guys to fully get, you know, some knowledge and some understanding from this, right? So going back to what we were saying, $666. Even though you drove for the week and you didn't take this money out, you didn't realize it as a cost of that week, right? It's going to be important you put money to the side for other things. That's the moral of the story, right? I don't want to hear about how independent you guys are. I don't want to hear about how you're a business owner partaking in the rideshare industry, the gig economy, or anything like that if you are not doing your numbers like this. So let's go back to that original guy now, who I was in the comment section going back and forth with, right? He's making $1,800 a week. He's putting 60, 70 hours in the rideshare industry, right? Let's pull that 1,800 back up, right? And now let's take that 666 from it. After those true expenses, right? He is now left with $1,134. Now, we're going to take that magical number and divide it by, we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt. He said 60. I say 65. So I really said 70. We're giving him the benefit of the doubt and we'll do 65, right? Divided by the 65 hours gives us a grand total of an average pay of $17.44. I am not even going to bother to get into whether that's good or bad. I am going to leave that interpretation up to everyone out there that's currently watching the video, right? I will leave that up to you, right? Because the reality of it is that it really depends, I guess you could say, where you are in life. I've said that in previous videos, and where you are in the country, because like I said previously, I'm in the New York, New Jersey area. For anyone that's near a major city, right? Anyone on, here in New York, New Jersey area, minimum wage is $16.50. There's some people out there, hey, getting $1 more than the minimum wage, $17.50, that might actually work for you, right? They have some McDonald's out here, right, that are paying $19 an hour. The Amazon warehouse, you might not find it a fun job, pays $1 more than the average of what we just did for him, like $18.50, $19 an hour, right? And let's not forget, you're busting your butt, you're working hard, you're putting 60, 70 hours a week in the rideshare industry, right? If you got a job and just did some overtime, you could actually probably be hitting $25, $30 an hour, right? But I'm going to leave it up to you guys. I just did a long video for you guys here on YouTube. I did the extended version. I broke the numbers down. I have done the work. I am not going to judge. I'm not going to even bother to put my opinion on it because it's those mathematics of doing this job in this industry, right? Bringing home $1,750, right? I will leave that up to you. But just do me a favor, right? The one thing that I don't want to hear anymore, right, is I make $1,500, $2,000 a week doing this without telling me how many hours you put in, right? I don't want to hear, oh, my expenses was only like $400-$500, and you didn't do the full mathematical, breakdown. That's just it. And I'm going to actually leave that here. Do me a favor, like I've always said. Give this video a thumbs up if you guys have found value from it, and get subscribed to the channel if you haven't done so already. Money Making Joey, I'm out of here, and I will see you guys in the next one.